Randall, please call the roll.
Come on over.
Representatives Arndt, Baisley, Benavides, Benavides, saw her earlier. Benavides excused. Bird. Bockenfeld excused. Buck. Buck. Buckner. Buckner. Windale. Caravale. Carver. Catlin. Coleman. Cutter. Duran. Escar. Escar. Representative Benavides is present. Excused. Exum. Froelich. Garnett. Geithner. Representative Geithner. Excused. Gonzalez Gutierrez. Gonzalez Gutierrez. Excused. Gray. Herod. Holtorf. Hooten. Excused. Humphrey. Jackson. Marquez Lewis. Representative Geithner is present. Kennedy. Here. Kipp. Kraftharp. Representative Escar is present. Landgraf. Landgraf. Excused. Larson. Liston. Lontine. McCluskey. McKean. McLaughlin. Melton. Michelson Janae. Malika. Neville. Pelton. Ransom. Rich. Excused. Roberts. Sane. Sane. Excused. Sandridge. Singer. Sirota. Snyder. Soper. Soper. Excused. Sullivan. Tipper. Tipper. Excused. Tatone. A. Valdez. D. Valdez. Van Wickle. Weissman. Will, excused. Williams. Representative Tipper is present. Wilson. Woodrow. Young. Madam Speaker, Representative Landgraf is present.
With how many present? With 57 present, 7 excused, and 1 vacancy, we have a quorum. Representative Tipper.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move that the Journal of Friday, February 7th, 2020 be approved and as corrected by the Chief Clerk.
You have heard the motion. All those in favor say aye.
I ran for the Senate.
All opposed say no. The motion passes. Announcements and introductions, Representatives Singer and Michelson-Jeannet.
Members, you might want to pay attention. I have something very interesting that we're all going to get to share from. Today is a Jewish holiday. I know this is shocking to most of you because Jewish holidays are so rare and few and far between. But today is called Tu B'Shvat. And when we were growing up, it was known as the holiday of the trees. And while it's snowing outside, we would always go outside and plant a tree on Tu B'Shvat. But Tu B'Shvat is one of 4 Rosh Hashanahs. There's going to be a quiz on this, so you might want to pay attention. Rosh Hashanah, you know, is the Jewish New Year, right? We know that on the calendar. It's a big religious holiday. Tu B'Shvat is one of 4 Rosh Hashanahs. The first is Nisan, which is when we celebrate the regular calendar. It's the holiday of the kings. And then this first of Elul is considered the first of the month where we start paying attention to our deeds and how we behave, although we should be doing that all the time. And then the first of Tishrei is when we're preparing for Rosh Hashanah. And then we have the 15th of Shavat. That is today, Tu B'Shvat. And although it's called the Rosh Hashanah, it only applies to the matter of tithes that are due from fruit and trees. So if you are a grower here, pay attention. Your tithes are due for the things that you grow from fruits and trees today. And today we celebrate all of those bounties. And one of the things that we do is we eat the 7 species associated with the land of Israel. So I have a platter here that we can all eat from, and we have wheat. Everybody, here's wheat. Here is barley. Here are grapes. Here are figs. Here are pomegranates in the seed form. Here are olives, and here are dates. Did I get that wrong? Yes, here are dates. Okay, if you eat from these, we should have a healthy, beautiful bounty. So if we want to have a bounty of food, please share from these 7 species. And also, this is a day where we are judged by God. If we all behave in a way where we work together and show God that we are worthy of a good bounty, we should have a good bounty, and we should grow trees.
Representative Singer.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Pursuant to the Department of Revenue supplemental, we'll be adding tithes today from growers as an amendment to that later on. But in all seriousness, I think when we think about planting trees, I think this is something that is even more important today than it has ever been. And so when we consider what we do, not only in our faith, but our actual actions, let's think about what we're putting in the ground, what we're planting for our next generation, and what that gives to our future generations. So if you don't plant a tree today, I promise I won't judge, but God might. And we look forward to enjoying Tu B'Shvat with you. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Happy Tu B'Shvat from the Jewish Caucus.
Representative Wilson.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Colleagues, I know you're probably already discussing my announcement, so I'll just give you some footnotes to that, okay? Do I have your attention? Senator Gardner used to do that when he was here, and it works. Tomorrow morning, In the old Supreme Court chambers, the Colorado High School Activities Association will be having their regular meeting. They will be here on the House floor as we start, then they will adjourn to the chambers. I urge you to contact your representative there. Each of you has a representative on that board. The reason why I say that is because what we do here at the Capitol is we go about our business thinking everything's fine, and then some disgruntled parent will come up and say, do you know how my child's being treated by the Activities Association? You'll say, that sounds terrible, I'll take care of it, and then we're all in trouble. So please, check in with your representative with the Activity Association in the morning. They're a great organization. They serve the majority of our students, like 58% of our students are involved in some of those activities. So please feel free to check in on them tomorrow. And also tomorrow morning, since it's getting a little tougher, we all need more prayer. That'll happen tomorrow morning, 7:15, downstairs in the basement. Thanks.
Representative Landgraf.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I sent in my form through the Ethernet. It came back approved. I will be out on the 13th and the 14th of this week, with your permission, of course.
Minority Leader Neville. Oh, you have permission. Permission is granted. Minority Leader Neville.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Members, I want to introduce to you the mayor of Columbine Valley, but also Representative-elect Richard Champion. If all the logistics work out well, we're hoping to swear him in on 8:15 on Wednesday, so welcome you there.
Congratulations and welcome, Representative-elect Champion. Representative Exum.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I have received permissions to be excused on Thursday, the 13th.
Approved. Representative McKean.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. These are the notes that I get on my desk. The box is still here, in all caps. I was out Friday, have cards with me today if it's not too late. This is your reprieve of love, good people. The box is still here. It is here for this morning. If you're watching Colorado Channel, you can come down and give me your cards, and then I will take them to our erstwhile stampers this afternoon. Thank you very much.
Representative Liston.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Hope you had a good weekend. Madam Speaker, I request to be excused this Friday, February 14th. I have the approval of the minority and the majority leader.
You are excused.
Thank you. And members, I try and read the newspapers every day, and I couldn't help but notice that there was a plethora of good economic news. Some of you might have noticed that the Colorado unemployment rate is now down to an historic low of 2.5%. 2.5%. We have to practically beg people to come to work now and or pay them money, pay them even more. Now then, the average wage here in Colorado is $30.33 an hour. That is up 4.9% over 2018. $30.33 is the average wage that Coloradoans are making. And my good colleague, Representative Melton, always likes to talk about the stock market. Last week, the S&P 500 hit 3 new highs. NASDAQ hit consecutively new highs. And in 2019, the Dow Jones hit 31 new highs. The
Members,
economy
it's
is
very
back
loud
as
in here.
strong as
I know
ever.
Representative Liston has some
Thank you
very
very
important
much.
information.
Thank you, Donald Trump, for the great economy.
You didn't even want me to quiet the room down. I was trying to quiet the room down for you. Representative Melton.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And I didn't get to hear all of Representative Liston's news, but I think it had something to do with the record-breaking market last week. Yeah, the S&P hit a new record, and the Dow Jones hit a new record. That's right. But I want to make sure that we're clear that when it comes to the job creation, that this administration is still below the number of jobs that we saw in the Obama administration. And when it comes to the deficit, and this is one of the most important ones, when it comes to the deficit, under Obama, the deficit was 2.9% of the GDP. Under this administration, 3.4. So, you know, even though, yeah, the market might be doing pretty well, I think there's still some areas of the economy that he still hasn't matched up to his predecessor on.
He will, don't worry, he will. Thank you. Go Trump.
Representative Buentello.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Members, just a brief reminder, tonight from 5:30 to 7:30 at the Hilton Denver City Center, CREA, that's the Colorado Rural Electrical Cooperatives, is having a reception, so I hope to see you all there.
Representative Valdez.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And with that, I want to thank rural Colorado, Rural Electric for keeping the lights on in Colorado. Thank you.
Representative McLaughlin. Representative McLaughlin.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I have a couple things today. Education. Tomorrow, the Education Committee is taking a tour of the Florence Crittenden School, and we'd like you all to attend. I will explain it all to you, Rep. Wilson. Yeah, you got an email about it, but check it up. So we will talk about that, and I'll text you all today to let you know time, place, how, when, what it is, and we'll make sure we get there. And I also have permission to take Friday off, so thank you very much.
Let's see. Any other announcements or introductions? Representative Jackson. Yeah.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Energy and Environment Committee, listen up. We've got 4 bills, 1064, 1126, 1143, 1025. They are going to remain in that order. I will see you in room 107 at 1:30.
Representative Roberts.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Good morning, everybody. Rural Affairs and Agriculture Committee, we have our committee meeting this afternoon at 1:30 in LSBA. We are pulling one bill off the calendar because Representative Will is absent today. So we're only doing 1146, 1159, and 1057, 1:30 in LSBA.
Representative Jackson.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Capitol Choir, come on down. And I would like to see Representative Datone in the center aisle and Representative Buckner. Get over there right now. Come on, people, come on, people, come on, people.
I think at the end of this, we ought to have a happy birthday for the rest of us that don't have a birthday during this session.
Sorry, Jim.
I felt left out all these years.
Gosh, buddy. We should do that.
Just a happy
All right.
birthday to everybody else.
Everybody ready? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Representative Buckner. Happy birthday to you.
Put those hot dogs in the freezer last night. All right.
Any other announcements or introductions? Majority Leader Garnett. Okay. Representative Harrod.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Members of the Finance Committee, we are meeting today at 1:30 in room 112. We will be hearing 4 bills. We'll see you there.
That brings us to second reading of bills, general orders. Representative Arndt. You have heard the motion. Representative Arndt will take the chair.
The committee will come to order. With your unanimous consent, the bills will be read by title unless there is a request for reading a bill at length. Committee reports are printed and in your bill folders. Floor amendments will be shown on the screen and on your iPads. Bills will be laid over upon request of the majority leader, and the coat rule is relaxed. Mr. Assistant Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move to lay over House Bill 1262 until tomorrow.
Do I got it? Thank you. I'm out of practice. Seeing no objection, House Bill 1262 is laid over. Mr. Randall, please read the title of House Bill 1013.
House Bill 1013 by Representative Snyder, also Senator Lee, concerning the specification of procedures for the ratification of defective corporate actions.
Representative Snyder.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move House Bill 1013 and the Business Affairs and Labor Committee report.
To the committee report.
Thank you. Well, we did have a wonderful committee session with this. There were no amendments offered, and we got a 10-0 vote out of the Business Affairs and Labor Committee, so I ask for your approval.
Thank you, Representative Snyder. There is no committee report, so we are to the bill. Unless you amended it in committee, there is no report.
Oh, good to know. Thank you,
Okay,
Madam
to the
Chair.
bill.
To the bill.
Is there further discussion on House Bill 1013? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of House Bill 1013. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. The ayes have it. House Bill 1013 is passed. Mr. Randall, please read the title of House Bill 1080.
House Bill 1080 by Representatives Gray and Van Winkle, Senators Gonzalez and Marble, concerning repealing the residency licensing requirement for marijuana licenses.
Representative Van Winkle.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move House Bill 1080, and there is no committee report.
To the bill.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members, as you recall, in 2012, voters passed Amendment 64 to our Colorado Constitution, and threw this General Assembly into somewhat of a tailspin as they were trying to, at the time, develop a whole new regulatory and taxing system for the sale of marijuana in Colorado. Many ideas were thrown out, some like the seed-to-sale tracking system, and others make a lot of sense in our state, and the Marijuana Enforcement Division have been perfecting those rules and regulations, but others just don't make any sense. In this case, the out-of-state licensing requirement not only doesn't make sense, it's very likely unconstitutional. Let's pass this bill and allow the Marijuana Enforcement Division to focus on more important things such as training and quality of employees.
Representative Gray.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, this bill keeps everything that ensures public safety in and around our marijuana industry intact while making it easier to do business in our state, and I'd ask for an aye vote.
Is there further discussion on House Bill 1080? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of House Bill 1080. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. The ayes have it. House Bill 1080 is passed. Mr. Assistant Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move to lay over House Bill 1087 until tomorrow.
Seeing no objection, House Bill 1087 is laid over till tomorrow. Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move to lay over House Bill 1100 until Monday, February 17th.
Seeing no objection, House Bill 1100 is laid over. Mr. Randall, Please read the title of House Bill 1101.
House Bill 1101 by Representative Wilson, also Senators Heisey and Todd, concerning the referral of a prospective resident to an assisted living residence by an assisted living residence referral agency.
Representative Wilson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move House Bill 1101 and the committee report.
To the committee report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The committee report was pretty tough. The amendment changed the word nursing to long-term. I recommend an aye on the committee report.
Is there further discussion on the committee report? Seeing none, the committee report is passed. Oh, yeah. Seeing none, is there objection to the adoption of the committee report? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. The committee report is passed. To the bill. Representative Wilson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Colleagues, I need your attention for just a moment, please. I know you're riveted on most of these bills on second reading, but how many of you have hair that is not the natural color that it once was? If that's the case, you're interested in this bill. This bill is entitled Assisted Living Residence Referrals, but its simple title would be, if you're not concerned about assisted living yet, you will be. And that's what this bill deals with. Last year's bill established a practice of full disclosure. This year's bill simply clarifies those responsibilities, informs all parties of cancellation, prohibits paying a referral fee when there's a termination, and it also prohibits the selling of information without consent. It also expands the definition of assisted living residence to include those with intellectual and developmental disabilities. So there you have it. That is the bill. And colleagues, I want you to know this bill will help those of us who are older people now and possibly some of you in the future. So help yourself while you can. Please vote yes.
Representative Singer.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And in the thread of what Representative Wilson said, for those of us who don't have the same color hair because we don't have hair anymore, I think this is not only an important issue for our aging adults, but it's actually really important for what I like to call the sandwich generation, those who are raising kids but also have parents who are aging and want to make sure that they are making the best decision for them. A lot of these decisions actually are made in a crisis time when a parent has a stroke or another health issue, and we need to make sure in a free market that we get access to transparent information so we can make the best decision for our parents, for our grandparents, and let, hopefully, our children make better decisions for us. So with that, I encourage an aye vote, and thank you, Representative Wilson, for carrying this bill.
Is there further discussion on House Bill 1101? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of House Bill 1101. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. The ayes have it. House Bill 1101 is adopted.
You can ask him. Which one is it? It's this one, and then we're going to move out of it. Mr. Randall, could you please read the title to House Bill 1094?
House Bill 1094 by Representatives Catlin and Arndt, also Senators Janal and Quorum, concerning a repeal of the dollar limitation on the fee that a local board of health may set for an on-site wastewater treatment system permits.
Representative, one of you, who would like it? Representative Catlin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's an honor to serve with you.
And it is such an honor to serve with you, Representative Catlin.
Thank you, ma'am. This is my first time down this summer, or this fall, winter, so I'm a little nervous. But I also wanted to thank my co-sponsor,
I think you'll do just fine. So I'll tell you what, why don't you move the bill?
Madam Chair, I'd like to move House Bill 1094.
Perfect. And the committee report?
Who did that?
Representative Arndt.
Madam Speaker, I move the committee report.
The Rural Affairs and Agriculture report?
Yes, that's the one I'm talking about.
Okay, so tell us about the committee report.
Yes, ma'am, and thank you, Madam Chair. So in the committee, we did amend this bill to clarify that upon request of local board of health, which will be the one setting the fees for the on-site wastewater treatment. You can always think septic tank when we say that. Provide the permittee with a statement that specifies how the permit fee was calculated. We urge a yes vote on the committee report.
Any further discussion on the committee report? Representative Holtorf.
Madam Chairperson Pro Tem.
No, just Madam Chair. Madam Chair does
Madam
it.
Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I come before this esteemed body just to clarify my no vote for informational reasons. I think it's important that you understand that I had a concern in this committee, and it's important to clarify. When we did pass this in committee, we took away any guardrails that our forefathers might have thought were important, and I call it blue sky. Now it can go up. My concern was what I call inflationary forces. If you're a study of economics, now with respect to the contracting and subcontracting environment that is septic system installation, now there may be an inflationary force. That is just an explanation. I'm not against the bill. I just want to explain why I voted no, so it's clear from an economic and inflationary
Representative
standpoint.
Holtorf, excuse me. We're on the committee report, so are you addressing your discouragement, your disapproval of the committee report?
No, I'm explaining in the committee report, my no vote for informational reasons. I sat in that committee, and I'm just explaining my position as it relates to the committee report, ma'am. And I believe I am valid in that explanation. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Well, I don't want to say you're wrong, but I think that you want to wait and disagree on the bill. And so we'll be there in just a moment. It's okay.
Okay, I will yield the microphone. Thank you.
We will invite you up in just a moment. Any further discussion on the committee report? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. Committee report passes. Representative Arndt, to the bill.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So this bill comes to us from counties who are asking to remove the cap that was set in legislation for permitting a on-site wastewater treatment plant. We're not increasing taxes. We're providing more local control back to our counties and the health departments who evaluate the cost of the permit. And in statute, it still says are only able to raise the fee. If they choose to, they can also lower them based on the actual cost of the permit. And that's in statute. This removes the artificial cap that was put on by the legislature years ago, and we urge a yes vote.
Thank you. Representative Catlin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. What we were doing with this bill is allowing counties to be able to keep up with the cost of issuing some of these septic tank permits. When the cap was placed, it was placed in 1997, 23 years ago, and hasn't changed since then. So what we're trying to do is to bring us into what it costs today. The other thing that with the amendment, if you are a customer and you want to know why and where the expense came from in this permit, all you have to do is ask and the county will disclose. This seemed like it was good government in my mind. We talked to the stakeholders through the counties, through the builders and those type of people. We had no opposition to this. It's a good bill. Vote yes.
Thank you. Representative Valdez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I want to thank the bill sponsors for bringing House Bill 1094 forward. This is a good bill for rural Colorado that repeals the fee cap. And with that, you have my support. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Representative Holtorf, come on up.
Thank you, Madam Chair. At this time is the appropriate time for the comments I made previously, and I appreciate the opportunity to do that. And I don't want to restate what I said before, so I yield the microphone back to
me.
To you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you. Representative Pelton, come on up.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I sat on this committee, and while it's a very crappy bill, being a county commissioner, I really appreciate this bill lifting the cap, so I'm all in favor of this bill.
Thank you. Representative Humphrey? No? Is there any further discussion on House Bill 1094? Seeing none, all those in favor of House Bill 1094, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. House Bill 1094 passes. Representative Kennedy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move to proceed out of order for the consideration of House Bill 1095.
Are there any objections? Seeing none, the committee will proceed out of orders for the consideration of House Bill 1095. Mr. Randall, let's read the title of the House Bill 1095.
House Bill 1095 by Representative Arndt, also Senator Bridges, concerning the authority of a local government's master plan to include policies to implement state water plan goals as a condition of development approvals.
Thank you. Representative Arndt.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. We amended this twice in committee.
So how about if we move the bill and then move the committee report?
Thank you. Sorry. I move House Bill 1095 and the committee report.
Thank you. To the committee report, Representative.
To the Rural Affairs and Agriculture Committee report, we amended the bill twice. L002 served to add in currently in DOLA, Department of Local Affairs, there is a temporary position to assist counties and cities with land and water use planning. This amendment seeks to make that a permanent position, and I urge an aye vote.
Thank you. Representative Pelton.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I sat on this committee that heard the bill, and I was a no vote in committee. And basically, it's just, I don't feel that this belongs in the master plan for the counties. So that is why I was a no vote in committee.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion? Representative Catlin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I was a no vote on this bill in the committee, and one of the reasons is that sometimes we should be asked what to do rather than told what to do. And out in the country particularly, these are some of the things that we talk about, is that it probably makes sense for water planning in the big cities and some of the places that are high consumption, but in places that are still in situations where we're just trying to figure out how we're going to get ourselves going, this might be more of a push than it should be. The other thing that's required in this bill is that if you want to receive grant money from Colorado Water and Power or CWCB, you have to have a water master plan for your community. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion on the committee report? Representative Arndt? No? Okay. All those in favor of the committee report, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The committee report passes. Representative Arndt, to the bill.
Thank you very much. So this bill is purely permissive, and while I respect and honor the comments by Representative Catlin and Representative Pelton, there is no shall in this bill. There is no must. This is a purely permissive bill that's asking if and when you do a master plan that you may consider water, and if you do, please consider water conservation that's in the water plan. And then it also provides help to develop those master plans through assistance at DOLA. And I urge an aye vote.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Representative McKean.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I know there was silence after that of like, is anyone else? Anyone? Representative Arndt, I had a question about this because in reading it, and then I heard Representative Catlin's questions of you or concerns that there might be less than permissive language, just saying that if you include certain elements that then you need to have this master plan to go forward. The question, I guess, has to do with municipalities like mine, where we have native water and where we have project water, right? And the difference between our watershed native shares that are seasonal and then our project water, which is deliverable 365 days a year. Is there any codification in how we encourage people to develop master plans to use those resources best? Because I know that's been a conversation we have had in my community about where are those shares best used? Is Parks and Rec the best place to have project water? And so in our water master plan, we really tried to look at that. Is there guidance and encouragement along those lines?
Representative Arndt.
Thank you for that question, Representative McKean. No. No, each individual locality, when they do a master plan, can do it however they so choose.
Any further discussion? Representative McKean.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion on House Bill 1095? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. House Bill 1095 passes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Appreciate that. Rusty, no. Okay. Are we? Rick? Mr. Randall, please read the title of House Bill 1027.
House Bill 1027 by Representatives Catlin and Escar, Senators Cook and Court, concerning authorizing Colorado State Patrol Port of Entry officers to direct traffic.
Representative Escar.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move House Bill 1027.
To the bill. Representative Catlin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It is a pleasure and an honor to serve with you.
And also with you.
Thank you. This is a piece of legislation that would make sense in regards to the state of Colorado and the Colorado State Patrol. This will allow the State Patrol to use the Port of Entry staff people to help them with traffic management during times of danger. I'm losing my words, folks. During times of natural disasters, health and safety issues. It lets them magnify their force with people that are already being paid by the state of Colorado and that are in the traffic business. The Colorado State Patrol does an awfully good job of taking care of us out on the highways. This will allow them to do that much better a job when there is something that's really going to impact our communities. I would recommend a yes vote. It's a good bill. Vote yes.
Representative Escar.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members, there is no additional fiscal impact that would be encumbered by the Department of Public Safety or by the state for this bill, and these officers are already trained in traffic direction in their basic academy, so there's no additional training or monies required. This is just allowing them the ability to help out when the state needs it. Ask for an yes vote.
Representative Liston.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Hope you're doing well. I have a couple of questions for my good colleagues and stuff. So I'm curious, these Port of Entry officers, are they going to be wearing special types of uniforms? What differentiates them from the uniforms that they wear versus the State Patrol, if you would, that's one question.
Representative Escar.
Split the difference. How about that?
Okay, I'll just get down like this.
Okay, whatever you need to do. Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm not sure. We didn't ask that question. I don't know why it's necessarily relevant. I believe they are State Patrol officers that wear their State Patrol uniform just like every other State Patrol officer.
Well,
Representative Liston.
Thank you. Well, it says here that they authorize a Port of Entry officer. So is that a different type of officer than a State Patrol officer? I thought they were different.
Representative Liston, or Escar.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is a State Patrol officer who is stationed at the Port of Entry.
Oh.
That's his station.
Representative Liston.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So these types of officers, these entry officers, are they post-certified? No, that's in all seriousness. You know, I don't know. Are they post-certified?
Okay, great. We have someone else who can answer that.
Representative Gray.
Yes, these are State Patrol officers in every sense of the word. They just happen to be at the Port of Entry. We took the entire TLRC there to the Port of Entry over the summer, visited with them. They're doing a great job. They got a brand new facility, but they are full-on officers of the law. They're not this is not a lesser title. They're just State Patrol officers who work at the Port of Entry.
Representative Liston.
Very good. Well, thanks. I didn't get to go on that tour, so you know, this is new to me. So how many Port of Entry facilities are they, and where are they located?
Representative Catlin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's evident you're not a truck driver.
I'm not. I'm not.
There are, I believe there are something like 10 State Patrol Port of Entries around the state of Colorado. As to the number of employees, I'm not positive how many people they've got employed.
Representative Liston.
I thank you, Representative Catlin. I'm not trying to be difficult. I'm just trying to understand this. I wasn't asking how many employees, I wondered kind of where they're located. The one I'm most familiar with is down on the southern border on the top of Raton Pass, but I assume there's others. It sounds like there's 8 or 9 others.
Representative Catlin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, there's a port of entry office, or a port of entry on I-70 west of Grand Junction. There are port of entries on the north side, on I-25, on I-70 on the east side, and the major roads that go out and into the state of Colorado, such as Highway 50, and down in the southwest part of the country around Highway 160.
Representative Liston.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm just curious about this because this bill fascinated me, and I really appreciate you helping me out with it because, you know, I really am a man of limited means, and I don't get to go out on all these different highways and stuff. So I was just very curious. Thank you.
Representative Sain.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This sounds like a great bill. I just want to ask a question. They may not be post certified, but are they port certified?
Mr. Minority Leader. Mr. Minority Leader Neville.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members, I just want to say this is, one of those few opportunities where we actually see a really good government bill in front of us and ahead of us. It's going to actually streamline, make the things that we do in the State Patrol and give them some more flexibility, probably prevent additional costs from incurring in the future, and I urge a yes vote.
Is there further discussion on House Bill 1027? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of House Bill 1027. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. The ayes have it. House Bill 1027 is adopted. Mr. Assistant Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move to lay over House Bill 1029 until tomorrow.
Is there any objection to House Bill 1029 being laid over? Seeing none, the question is adopted. House Bill 1029 is laid over. Mr. Randall, please read the title of House Bill 1093.
House Bill 1093 by Representatives McCluskey and Wilson, also Senators Donovan and Rankin, concerning county authority to license and regulate a business.
Representative McCluskey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move House Bill 1093 and the committee report from Transportation and Local Government.
To the committee report.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Representative Wilson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The committee report, we amended the bill. I had some of my folks that said, Wilson, what are you thinking with a bill title that broad? You could put everything under it in the world. I said, you're exactly right. So this amendment simply narrowed that title and limits it strictly to the issue that we're talking about here with the short-term rentals. I recommend an aye vote.
Is there further discussion on the committee report? Seeing none, all those in favor of adopting the committee report say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. The ayes have it. The committee report is adopted. To the bill. Representative McCluskey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Our bill has really been brought forward because of the crisis we're facing up in our rural resort communities. In Summit County, for example, we have 30,000 living units. 10,000 of those are held by our local workforce, another 10,000 truly by those folks who are second homeowners or folks who live out of town and come for that ski vacation. And we have over 10,000 units that are on the short-term rental market. Currently, our community, our county, has no way of issuing a business license or regulating those units. They're trying to do it through land use provisions, and it's become very cumbersome. When we heard from members of those community in our committee, we heard stories of noise, problems with septic tanks and sewage, problems with bears getting into trash, and we really need a more formal, appropriate process to be able to license and regulate short-term rentals in our rural resort communities. I urge an aye vote.
Representative Wilson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Colleagues, I want you to know what we saved you from having to see today. In committee, we had pictures of bears and we had pictures of raw sewage. So we didn't share that with you today. In this particular bill, I know that some of us are philosophically opposed to government regulations and that sort of thing. In this bill, that ship's already left the harbor. County governments are already regulating on these without any statutory authority. So we have two options here. One is to do nothing and allow the government to go ahead and regulate without any statutory guidelines nor any parameters. Or option B, vote for House Bill 20-1093 and give the government statutory guidelines to restrict government specifically to short-term rentals. As for me, I'm going to vote for the guidelines. I hope that you do too. Thank you.
Representative Geithner.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members, we got a flyer on our desk this morning, CCI, who is obviously for the bill, and they call out some issues specifically in the rural communities regarding short-term rentals. Some of those are excessive noise complaints. What else do we have here? We have parking issues in rural Colorado, apparently, due to short-term rentals. So I've asked for some stats, either from code enforcement, from counties, from law enforcement, such as sheriff's departments. I haven't received anything yet. I'm just hoping that the sponsors can talk to the stats regarding excessive noise complaints. Where can I see some of, the stats that are actually documented outside of just some claims here? Because I represent a large portion of rural El Paso County, and I haven't heard about noise complaints in rural El Paso County regarding noise complaints from short-term rentals or necessarily parking issues. And so before we make some claims, I'd just like to see some stats and some numbers. So thank you very much.
Representative Wilson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I apologize, Representative Geithner. I do not have statistics per se of that, but I realize that El Paso County has a noise level that operates higher than Chaffee County does. So when you get in a rural area, 5 or 10 extra vehicles around one home can create the noise issue and the parking issues. That may not be the case in El Paso County, but Colorado counties are in favor of this because they recognize the problems that we have around the state.
Representative McCluskey.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Representative Geithner, for the question. I know in our rural resort communities, we receive numerous complaints from neighborhoods who are experiencing this large influx of short-term rental business. I would be happy to see if we have that data available and could provide it to you specifically. I know that one of the challenges for us is that because we don't know where these short-term rentals are operating, because those residences don't have a business license, it's very difficult for us to track exactly who has a short-term rental and who just has a really big family reunion at their home over the weekend. So by taking this step, we're hoping to better capture data on where short-term rentals are operating and be able to establish some appropriate regulations so that they understand what is okay with parking, with volume, the number of people that are staying at a residence, noise, et cetera.
Representative Geithner. Representative Wilson.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and Representative Geithner, again, thank you for the question. One of the things I forgot was that it is actually permissive. We're not requiring that all governments have to do that. It's still permissive. So El Paso has the option of doing that or not, so it is permissive.
Representative Geithner.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would just ask, is it really the government's business whether it's a large family reunion over the weekend or if it's something else? I just don't know that we need to dive into that level of granularity of people that are looking to, do different functions or other on their private property. And so licensing to try and get at the heart of the matter as to what they're doing, I find fundamentally inappropriate for the government's role in that. So I stand opposed to 1093. I would ask that the body also oppose 1093. I think this is a matter of private property, and I think it's a matter of individuals, having some privacy in how they tend to manage their private property, specifically in the rural communities.
Representative Wilson.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Representative Geithner, and I respect that. But I want to point out again, it's not a question of if they will be regulated. They are being regulated now without any authority. So that disturbs me a great deal in terms of I'm not for expanding government, but they're already doing it without any guidelines, and that really scares me. So I would urge an aye vote.
Representative McCluskey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd also like to comment that our local municipalities, cities, and towns currently have the ability to license businesses and regulate businesses. This really gives our counties the exact same authority. We're leveling the playing field to make sure that counties can provide the same sort of guidelines, guardrails around businesses that are operating in unincorporated parts of their county. I urge an aye vote.
Representative Ransom.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I do know some people that have had their homes and they rented them out short term to make an income so that they could keep that second home. Some people have a cabin in the mountains and they want to let somebody stay there for a week, or they want to let somebody rent the place, and it supplements their income. It's a good way for people to, in our world of rising prices and where incomes are going up and inflation is rising, this is a solid way for people that want to have a second home to actually be able to finance it properly and be able to not just have the second home, but then be able to share it with either friends or relatives or people they know. They might advertise it through one of the local services, but then they are also committed to keeping it. It's in their own best interests to take care of that home and to take care of it properly. In many places, there are already systems in place that will regulate some of the problems that we heard about, for example, parking. If there is a family reunion, or if somebody is just renting the house out and there's a couple different families that are staying there, there might be more than one car, yes. But often HOAs will regulate the number of cars that can be parked there. Local metro districts would have water and sewer under control. They would take care of those issues as well. And for the municipalities to then come in and say, well, who's staying in your house? Are you renting it out to or is it just a family reunion? Again, we're hearing back about the overreach of government trying to decide how people can use their private homes. Too often, I think we're trying to figure out what the problem is, if there is even indeed a problem, and then solve it before we even let owners have a chance to resolve it themselves. I can tell you that there is a very robust complaint and review system in process. If you look at any of the short-term rental websites, you will see that that people that are traveling can turn in complaints. They can turn in property complaints. They can then also review the property. So there are many systems that the private people that just owners, not owners, but renters, people that are renting these properties, can already go in and start making sure that the homes are not being overused, that the parking is adequate for the area. If there are noise guidelines already in place, they would apply whether somebody is renting or just staying there, or if they own the property. Those noise guidelines already apply no matter who's staying there. So with that, I just want to let everyone know that the review system and complaint system is already robust, it's already in place, and it doesn't need the government to go in and start adding to that to make somebody that might own a second home that just is trying to make a little bit of extra money to help maybe put in some new improvements or keep up the mortgage payments. We don't need to go in and start regulating that. We don't need to go in and start adding new laws, new regulations, new hurdles for them to leap before they can actually make a small income from their second home. So with that, I also urge a no vote on this bill.
Representative Wilson.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Representative Ransom, for that. We understand that things are going on, and Representative Ransom, you used the terms, that they had the water and the sewer and so forth. Come to rural Colorado, it's called wells and septics. And that's why the counties were there with pictures of raw sewage going down the street, because you overload the septic tanks because a home is restricted to 5 individuals the way that septic was licensed, and then they come in with 15 people in the short-term rental. It doesn't work well there. You used the term HOAs, rolled off the tongue. In rural Colorado, HOAs are a little more difficult to find in the counties. Third point is, when you talk about we don't need government coming in and regulating, government is coming in and regulating now, and they have no authority to do so. So what we're saying, if we vote against it, is what we're doing is fine, you regulate whatever you want, we have no guidelines whatsoever. This is specifically pointed at, they are doing it, we're defining what they're currently doing and restricting it to that so that they can address the issues. And you failed to mention bears, which is a really exciting, rare occurrence in El Paso County in Colorado Springs. but it's not such a rare occurrence in Salida and Buena Vista and in my alley where they come through on a regular basis. So that's the reason for this. It's not a question of we don't need government regulating. They are already regulating. So if you want to stop the regulation of that, you need to run a bill that will have local governments not doing what they're doing now. Thank you.
Representative McCluskey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And to be clear, the authority that we're currently using is land use authority, and it is not the proper way to regulate a business that's operating out of a residence. And I am the first one to say short-term rentals are an important part of our tourism economy in our rural resorts. But I think the one-offs that we might be talking about in other parts of the state, I know that short-term rentals are busy everywhere. I don't mean to imply that they aren't. But in our part of the world, rural resorts, we are overwhelmed with the way that short-term rentals have impacted our small neighborhoods and communities. We are looking for a path forward that is appropriate by being able to issue business licenses and regulate through that approach versus land use regulations. We hope to be far more responsive, be able to address these particular problems around parking, trash, snow clearance, septic and well use. We want to be able to address those out of the gate so that our short-term rental owners are aware of their responsibilities before we end up with these problems. Again, it is not to damper the short-term rental market. We know they're essential to Colorado's very vibrant and thriving tourism economy, but it is important that those be licensed and regulated the same way they are in our municipalities currently, but in a way that's also protecting our small neighborhoods. Thank you.
Representative Sandridge.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Okay. Well, we all know that guidelines is just another word for increased regulation. One thing I want to add is House District 14, my district, is across from the Air Force Academy. So we have a lot of activity associated with this bill. The people in my district don't want this. They don't need an increased taxes. They don't need increased regulation. And they want local control. To say this won't damper the market when you increase regulation and taxes is fundamentally not true. This is this is the government coming in and just adding layers of bureaucracy and making it more difficult for these businesses to thrive. It's just more government expansion. It hurts businesses. And if a local area needs to change something, then change it. Don't come into my district and throw these rules around. Thank you.
Is there further discussion on House Bill 1093? Representative Ransom.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I do want to thank the sponsors for responding to my concerns and questions. I really appreciate what you guys said. And I guess where I would still come back to is that there are many people that have large families. I know I raised quite a few children myself, and so I know that there were times that my house probably looked like I had more than one family there, just because, especially as they got to be teenagers and early 20s, I know that I might have looked like more than one family, but I promise you it was just one family. And so if we have families that live out in rural Colorado, obviously we can't start regulating family size or family people that, you know, if they have guests that are coming to stay with them, cousins are coming for a week or whatever. So those issues, I think, need to be resolved outside of the short-term rental market industry, because as we already discussed, that provides a very good addition to our economy. You know, the short-term rental market provides a lot of tax revenue. It encourages people to come visit our beautiful state when they have a place that they can rent and stay in a home with a kitchen and a garage. I mean, a lot of people prefer short-term rentals than staying in a hotel room where they just have a room with a couple of beds in it. People love renting a house or a condo or a cottage, and that is one of the the wonderful assets that the short-term rental market brings to our state. And I can't emphasize that part of this enough, that we love having people come visit our state and stay, and whether it's in a hotel or in a short-term rental. But again, I just want to stress that we can't always know what's going on in people's homes, and I feel that this bill is still overreaching into what people are doing in their private homes. So again, I'm going to stick with my original recommendation of a no vote on this bill.
Representative Van Winkle.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And ditto much of what has already been said, especially about private property rights and things. But I do want to make one extra point, which is Colorado already has among the harshest and most burdensome complex licensing and taxing, definitely in the taxing realm, the most burdensome taxing scheme of all the 50 states. And the people of Colorado have been crying out to us in the legislature to try to simplify things, to try to minimize the complex web of local governments and the state government and overlapping boundaries and districts and things. And we have heard that local governments already have the authority to license and regulate these things, but counties don't. By adding counties on top of it, it's just adding yet another layer of bureaucracy on top of municipalities, on top of just regular everyday Joe and Jane Smith Coloradan that are trying to just simply rent out their property from time to time and make a little extra money on the side, and then pay their taxes on that, which I know they all do very well. So I urge a no vote for all those reasons, and the fact that we already have committees and interim committees on top of interim committees working hard to try to simplify the problems that have been created by bills just like this, where there's regulatory structure built on regulatory structure built on regulatory structure, and you have one saying do this and you have one saying do that, and the people trying to operate their business don't know what to do, whether they should go with the health department or the fire department regulations, or whether they should go with the municipal licensing or the county licensing or the state licensing. It's just a very overly burdensome, complex structure we have, and I would urge a no vote simply because it's perhaps in this very instance there's a need for it, and the bill sponsors are trying to serve their communities they do a very good job of serving their communities, but when you add it into all the other complex licensing and regulatory and taxing structures we have in Colorado, it just adds to the problem. So I urge a no vote.
Representative McLaughlin, or Representative Wilson.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, colleagues, for your concerns. I stand up here as one who totally agrees with not allowing government to expand. That's not the issue here, and we're not hearing it. The issue is government is already expanding and controlling and regulating these without statutory ability. That, to me, is offensive. We put in that it can be permissive, so whether El Paso County wants to do it or not, that's up to them. I can guarantee you Chaffee County will do it because they're already doing it. And Assistant Minority Leader, you said businesses do not know what to do because they've all got all these. That's the problem. What's the county commissioners going to do this week to regulate it? There's no guidelines. Municipalities have it, counties do not. So that to allow the government to do it is not the question. They're doing it already without authority. That's the question. The sole reason why I'm on this bill. If they were not doing it and could not do it, I wouldn't be up here saying we ought to allow them to do it. That's not the question. So I urge a yes vote on this, because the question is not do you allow them to do it, it's a question of do you allow them to do it without any guidelines. Thank you.
Representative McCluskey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And fortunately, I have a county that was listening to our debate, and they have provided some statistics. So far this year, as of February 4th, we have 222 complaints, primarily around noise, parking related, and trash. We have 4,250 applications submitted for short-term rentals. 3,518 permits have been processed and approved through land regulations, 117 currently in process, 75 permits on hold, in part because of some accessory dwelling unit questions, and 419 permits are closed. I'm happy to share additional statistics with any of the members of the body if you have questions. Thank you.
Representative McLaughlin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I live in a resort area of Colorado, and I think this bill is exactly what we need. This sounds great if the people next door to you, it's a family reunion, it's a grandmother with her kids, but the people renting these homes out are often gone all year, and they rent out, it's a 12-month venture that they're doing. And oftentimes the people who move in there really don't care that they have neighbors. And they do have a lot of cars, they do have a lot of noise, they do generate a lot of trash. I think to give the counties this authority would help neighbors. If it hasn't been your neighbor, you probably don't care. But if it has been your neighbor, you care very, very deeply. And if you want to keep your neighborhood safe and well kept, this is the absolute bill to do it. So I'm strongly in favor of this.
Representative Sane, did you want to go next? No? Okay, next up. Raise your hand. Representative Valdez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members, this bill is about accountability in our small communities in rural Colorado. It's about moving forward for safety awareness. This bill brings forward for those who sometimes need a voice, sometimes need to speak up, those who are needed the most. And with that, I thank the bill sponsors for bringing that forward. You have my support.
Representative Geithner.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I would just offer, I think we heard that, if the county's already doing something that they don't necessarily have the statutory guidelines to do, or maybe they shouldn't be doing, then isn't that a space for the judicial system? Why should the state come in and rush and provide cover for something that, maybe is right now a patchwork? Let's go ahead and leave it to the judicial systems to sort out. This isn't a place for the state in my mind. I think private property rights are paramount. And this is just big government coming down and telling folks how they need to run their private property. And I still remain opposed to 1093.
Representative Sane.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And along the same lines, some of the things brought up by the sponsors, and I just have a lot of questions about this bill. One of which is illegal drug use. Well, that's illegal already. And so a lot of the problems that are pointed out, in the bill, that's what sheriffs are for. That's what law enforcement is for. Somebody's having a drug party, then the sheriff is going to come to that property, whether it's the homeowner or somebody else renting the home or it's a family reunion. Same thing if there's noise complaints. I mean, the county commissioners have quite a bit of authority to regulate noise use, even dust, traffic, things like that too. So I just question whether this is really needed or if this is something that can be taken care of in the current system.
Is there further discussion on House Bill 1093? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of House Bill 1093. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say no. The ayes have it. House Bill 1093 is adopted. Mr. Randall, please read the title of House Bill 1048.
House Bill 1048 by Representatives Herod and Buckner, also Senator Fields, concerning a prohibition against discrimination based on a person's traits that are historically associated with race.
Representative Buckner.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move House Bill 20-1048.
To the bill. Representative Herod.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move Amendment L002 and ask that it be displayed.
The motion, let's see. The amendment is properly before us. Please proceed.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This amendment, members, you should all have it on your desk. You should have had it last week, but this amendment basically goes through and adds a legislative declaration, changes the short title to the Crown Act of 2020. It also clarifies the definition that we are only talking about hairstyles, not other traits associated with race. It clarifies that school districts cannot waive out of the Crown Act, and I ask for an aye vote.
Is there further discussion on L002? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of L002. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. The ayes have it. L002 is adopted. Are there any further second reading amendments? No. Seeing none, to the bill. Representative Williams.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I want to thank the bill sponsors for bringing this up. I think there is a lot of merit to what's being discussed today. And I also want to thank Representative Coleman, who was the committee chair that day, and trying to run a meeting that was packed, but also constrained to a pretty tight schedule. We got through a lot of testimony in a short amount of time. One of the things that was a little disappointing about it was that we didn't have enough time to talk more about what's going on, and I think that definitely had an impact on my vote as well as the vote of my colleagues. One of the reasons why I initially voted no on this bill was because I think, as I was looking at it, I wholeheartedly agree that racial discrimination is unacceptable and that nothing like that has any place in our society, whether it be in our businesses or our schools or what have you. Which is why we do have anti-discrimination laws on the books currently. And I think that's pretty much the reason why you saw some of the no votes come out of that committee, was that there are currently anti-discrimination laws on the books that we believe are adequate. And, and I'll certainly ask the bill sponsor to elaborate more as to why those aren't adequate. But at this time, I would encourage everyone here to at least vote your conscience and realize that perhaps there is a need for this, but also recognizing at the same time that this might be redundant or duplicitous. And I'm just now noticing everyone's getting very quiet, so this is a great discussion here. So in any event, members, I definitely think this is a worthwhile discussion. I do appreciate the bill sponsors for bringing forward a bill to address discrimination that is still out there and trying to find ways to make sure that everyone in our society is treated equally and fairly. Thank you.
Is there further discussion on House Bill 1048? Representative Herod.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I want to thank Representative Williams for coming forward. I want to be clear that we're not just adding something to law just for the fun of it. A federal court said that hairstyles were not a trait that was protected under our non-discrimination codes. That case was brought by the EEOC. So in order to have protection for women and men and people living outside of the gender binary who are of color, who have hair growing out of their hair a certain way and not be asked to cut it or straighten it, we need these protections in law. And so I do ask for a yes vote.
Is there further discussion on House Bill 1048? Representative Herod.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Let me just grab my notes, since there's no further discussion. So I want to just be clear, members, that we had over 100 people who came to the Capitol this week, to the Business Affairs and Labor Committee, to talk about this bill. But some of you guys who are watching the Oscars might have seen it on the Oscars last night, too. It has a huge impact on people of color living in this country. And so to the director, Matthew Cherry, I want to say that Colorado is poised to becoming a state to pass the Crown Act. I thank my colleagues on both sides of the aisle. To DeAndre Arnold, the young man who was kept from walking in his graduation because he was asked to cut his dreadlocks. We are making change because of you. And to Naima Young, the Denver cheerleader who was asked to change her hairstyle and straighten her hair or be kicked off the cheerleading squad, this bill is for you. And for all of the people who testified in person last week, who continue to struggle with this as an issue, this is for you. And so with that, I do ask for an aye vote on this bill.
Thank you very much. Is there further discussion on House Bill 1048? Seeing none, the question before us is Representative Buckner.
Thank you so much. We just want to thank all of you who have been so supportive of this Crown Act bill, the emails we've received, the texts we've received, and the in-person conversations we've received have been very, very encouraging. Last night, when the Oscar was given for the short animated film, my granddaughters were clapping. They were so excited. because they have personally been impacted by their hair and how they wear their hair. In fact, at brunch yesterday, we had this discussion before the Oscars even came on. One of my granddaughters is of mixed race. She has hair down to her waist. My other granddaughter has very short, kinky hair, just like I had when I was a little girl. And we had a discussion about the differences in hair and how you are viewed. I just want to ask all of you something. Most of you have known me for 4 years. I wear my hair short. It's mixed gray. I wear it straight. You all, I think, believe that I am a legitimate legislator. I've been told that I'm easy to talk to. I've been told that I like to collaborate. I've passed a lot of bills. If I came in tomorrow with my hair in its natural form, and yes, when I wash my hair, if I didn't have a relaxer on it, I would have kinky hair. It would be curly, kinky, and it would shrink. Would you feel any different about me if I came in and my hair was in its natural state? Thank you. I'm trying to make a point here. Hair has nothing to do with my ability. It has nothing to do with my actions. Hair has nothing to do with my intelligence. So hair should not determine who I am and how I am perceived. So just want to put that out there for your train of thought right now. And I'm asking for an aye vote on this really important bill.
Representative Holtorf.
Thank you, Madam Chairman, and I thank the bill sponsors for bringing this bill forward. The question that I have for the bill sponsors is this. As a member of the military for many, many decades, how does this affect junior ROTC in our schools? Military standards are different, and the military doesn't discriminate. But how is that going to impact our military standards? When you say that the military standard is this, and you have to cut your hair, and you have to have military standards, because that's a standard that we cannot diminish. So that's the first question. The next question I have is, I'm in production agriculture, and we work with a lot of tools and equipment. So safety, for example, safety in shop class, when you're using power tools or equipment. In the industry that I'm in, many, many pieces of equipment are operated with a power takeoff off a tractor. And there are hundreds and hundreds, potentially thousands of horsepower behind that equipment. Probably not in a high school. But I'll tell you, if that power takeoff gets a hold of you, you will die. You will die. So it's a safety issue. I'm not speaking against the bill. I'm talking about standards and safety right now. And then finally, I wrestled from the time I was about 6 years old till I was 19, competitively, all the way up to college until I didn't make the team. What's the impact on sports such as wrestling? Because when you wrestle, you have to have certain things that meet a standard that allows you to perform. And a lot of times you have to have your nails cut closely, and you have to have short hair for a lot of safety reasons. So I offer that. I'd like the bill sponsors to please help me understand how we've addressed those things in this legislation. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Representative Herrick.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So, I want to be clear that we don't have any control over what the military does or doesn't do. However, they have changed their code to make sure that things like dreadlocks and afros were allowed in the military. My mom, who was an officer in the Army, had to wear her hair cut short, right? That's fine. That would not be changed by this law. However, just like the young man in Texas, if you have it cut short and it follows every single other rule, you cannot tell them to cut their hair just because they're dreadlocks. And to the question about what happens when you're around heavy equipment, I don't know if y'all can see this, but I wear a hair tie around my wrist when it's windy, or when I might be around something that might trap my hair, maybe a fan. You use a hair tie, you can tie your hair back. And when you tie your hair back, all of a sudden you have less risk. So that's why the Competitive Council is supporting this bill That's why the pipe fitters are supporting this bill. That's why the electrical workers, and we've heard from people across industry, who support this bill, because safety is not a reason to discriminate. We can actually put things in place, like hair ties, to make sure that people are safe. So with that, I ask for an aye vote.
Is there further discussion on House Bill 1048? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of House Bill 1048. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. The ayes have it. House Bill 1048 is adopted. Mr. Randall, please read the title of House Bill 1124.
House Bill 1124 by Representatives McKean and Snyder, concerning clarification of the period following the declaration by the governor of a disaster emergency in county within which the Board of County Commissioners may transfer county general fund money to the county road and bridge fund for the purposes of disaster response and recovery.
Representative McKean.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I move House Bill 1124.
To the bill.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. So, folks, this is about municipal elections. This is, disaster emergency. So, because sometimes we just get a little confused. You guys probably know that we had some significant floods in 2013. Do you know how many years ago that was? It was 7 years ago. Do you know the fact that we are still trying to rebuild and do all the things that we need to do? And so the challenge that we have had is the ability to get all that work done and to move the money the county needs between the general fund and the road and bridge fund. This extends that period of time. It's something our counties need. It's something Northern Colorado and Southern Colorado both very much need to get so that we can get our work done.
Representative Snyder.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I couldn't agree with my colleague more. This is really just to clarifies exactly when the 8-year period starts tolling, and that is after the end of all declarations and extensions of a disaster declaration. So we ask for your vote.
Is there further discussion on House Bill 1124? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of House Bill 1124. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. The ayes have it. 1124 is adopted. Mr. Randall, please read the title of House Bill 1133.
House Bill 1133 by Representatives Kraft-Tharp and McKean, also undertaken concerning land use entitlements affecting real property that has been disconnected from a municipality.
Representative Kraft-Tharp.
Thank you. So I move House Bill 1133.
To the bill.
Thank you. So currently, state statute provides two methods by which a property owner can disconnect from a municipality. One is by application to the municipality. The other is by petition to the district court. The current law does not address any issues concerning the state of the property as it returns to the county, including specifically the zoning of that property.
Representative McKean.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. So folks, what we've had in the past are some portions of municipalities that would like to de-annex and be in the county. We have to be able to define what happens with that when it does happen. And what are the entitlements on that land? What is the process that they go through to zone that land? That is exactly what this bill does. It clarifies that process. I ask for an aye vote.
Is there further discussion on House Bill 1133? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of House Bill 1133. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. The ayes have it. House Bill 1133 is adopted. Mr. Randall, please read the title of Senate Bill 71.
Senate Bill 71 by Senator Smallwoods and Fields, also Representatives Michelson, Genet, and Bockenfeld, concerning clarification regarding the use of a state-owned motor vehicle by an employee of a state agency to travel away from home.
Representative Michelson, Genet.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. I move Senate Bill 71.
To the bill.
Senate Bill 71 came out of the Audit Committee as a need to clarify the provisions regarding the number of nights a state-owned vehicle may be parked at an officer or employee's personal residence, and specifies that the limitation does not apply if the officer or employee is using the state-owned vehicle for the purpose of traveling away from home. It further clarifies that commuting does not include traveling away from home as defined by the Federal Internal Revenue Service, and that an officer or employee shall not use a state-owned vehicle for commuting unless such use is authorized pursuant to law. And I ask for an aye vote.
Is there any discussion on Senate Bill 71? Excuse me, Mr. Minority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And members, Representative Bockenfeld is on this bill. I know he really appreciates efficiency, and so I assumed he would want this bill to go forward, and as do I, would get it done and get this good bill move forward. So he's going to be out several days, so I said we should move forward on the bill, and I think he would probably agree if he were here. But that said, I also urge an aye vote on this bill.
Thank you, Mr. Minority Leader. Is there further discussion on Senate Bill 71? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of Senate Bill 71. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. The ayes have it. Senate Bill 71 is adopted. Mr. Assistant Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move to proceed out of order for House Bill 1148.
Seeing no objection, we will move out of order to hear House Bill 1148. Mr. Randall, could please read the title of House Bill 1148?
House Bill 1148 by Representative Soper, House Senators Fields and Gardner concerning punishments related to offenses committed against a deceased human body.
Representative Soper.
Well, thank you, Madam Chair. I move House Bill 1148. And
to the bill.
There's no committee report. So House Bill 1148 concerns offenses committed against a deceased human body or abuse of a corpse. This is something that near my House district, there was an issue that occurred a couple of years ago called the Sunset Mesa atrocity. We've also had a murder in Mesa County and then another alleged incident in Mesa County of abuse of corpse. This concerns things like sawing off body parts, mutilating a body, and necrophilia. 40 states currently have bills that are stronger than Colorado, and this moves it up to a felony, and then it also says that you cannot be charged with both abuse of a corpse and tampering with evidence. The prosecution has to pick one theory or the other at the end. The defense bar and public defenders were neutral and co-voted in support. It passed House Judiciary 8-0, and I ask for a yes vote.
Is there further discussion on House Bill 1148? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of House Bill 1148. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. The ayes have it. House Bill 1148 is adopted. Mr. Assistant Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good work today, everybody. I move the committee rise and report.
You have heard the motion. Seeing no objection, is there objection? Seeing no objection, the committee will rise and report.
The House will come back to order. Mr. Randall, please read the report of the Committee of the Whole.
Madam Speaker, your committee whole begs leave to report it has had under consideration following attachment bills being segregated with the expiring recommendations thereon. House Bill 1013, House Bill 1027, House Bill 1048 is amended, House Bill 1080, House Bill 1093 is amended, House Bill 1094 is amended, House Bill 1095 is amended, House Bill 1101 is amended, House Bill 1124, House Bill 1133, House Bill 1148 passing or gross place accounted for third reading and final passage. Senate Bill 71 passing or revised place accounted for third reading and final passage. House Bill 1029, House Bill 1087, and House Bill 1262 are laid over until February 11, 2020, retaining the place on the calendar. House Bill 1100 is laid over until February 17th, retaining its place on the calendar.
You have heard the motion. Oh, I'm sorry. You have not heard the motion. Representative Arndt. Now you have heard the motion and there are no amendments. The question before the House is the adoption of the report of the Committee of the Whole. Mr. Randall, please open the machine and members please vote. Landgraf, Liston, Soper. Please close the machine. With 49 aye votes, 11 no votes, 4 excused, and 1 vacant, the report of the Committee of the Whole is passed. I have one announcement. Representative Neville will replace Representative Will in Rural Affairs today. Have fun, Representative Neville. Majority Leader Garnett.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move to lay over the balance of the general order's second reading of bills calendar until Tuesday, February 11th.
Seeing no objection, the balance of the calendar will be laid over till Tuesday, February 11th. The next order of business is resolutions. Majority Leader Garnett.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move Senate Joint Resolution 7.
Mr. Randall, please read the title of Senate Joint Resolution 7.
Senate Joint Resolution 7 by Senators Story and Rankin, also Representatives Bunteo and Geithner, concerning recognition of military veterans and MIA POW Appreciation Day.
Majority Leader Garnett, now do you want to move it? Sorry, we didn't read the title first.
Sorry about that, Madam Speaker. I move Senate Joint Resolution 7.
The question before us is the passage of Senate Joint Resolution 7. Members, these are the motions, these are the resolutions that were considered in the Senate for Military Day on Friday, and we're just going to be voting on them. The question before us is the passage of Senate Joint Resolution 7. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Randall, please open the machine and members, do we need to open? We don't need to open the machine. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say no. The motion passes. Minority Leader Neville.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move that this morning's roll call be added as co-sponsors.
Seeing no objection, the morning roll call will be added as co-sponsors. Majority Leader, Mr. Randall, please read the title of Senate Joint Resolution 8.
Senate Joint Resolution 8 by Senators Williams and Fields, also Representatives Buckner and Exum, concerning recognition of African American veterans.
Minority Leader Neville.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move Senate Joint Resolution 8.
The question before us is the passage of Senate Joint Resolution 8. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say no. The motion passes. Majority Leader Garnett.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move that the current roll call be added as co-sponsors.
Seeing no objection, the current roll call will be added as co-sponsors. Mr. Randall, please read the title of Senate Joint Resolution 9.
Senate Joint Resolution 9 by Senators Garcia and Heisey, also Representatives Escar and Wilson, concerning the 52nd anniversary of the capture of the USS Pueblo by North Korea.
Majority Leader Garnett.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move for the passage. I move Senate Joint Resolution 9.
The question before us is the passage of Senate Joint Resolution 9. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Randall, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, say no. Senate Joint Resolution 9 is adopted. Minority Leader Neville.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move that this morning's roll call be added as co-sponsors.
Seeing no objection, this morning's roll call will be added as co-sponsors. Mr. Randall, please read the title of Senate Joint Resolution 10.
Senate Joint Resolution 10 by Senators Zenzinger and Marble, also Representatives Sane and Valdez D, concerning honoring Gold Star families.
Minority Leader Neville.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move for the passage of Senate Joint Resolution 10.
The question before us is the passage of Senate Joint Resolution 10. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say no. Senate Joint Resolution 10 is adopted. Majority Leader Garnett.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move that the current roll call be added as co-sponsors to Senate Joint Resolution 10.
Seeing no objection, the current roll call will be added as co-sponsors to Senate Joint Resolution 10. Mr. Randall, please read the title of Senate Joint Resolution 11.
Senate Joint Resolution 11 by Senators Donovan and Crowder, also Representatives McLaughlin and Williams, concerning the recognition and remembrance of military veterans in Colorado who served in the Vietnam War.
Majority Leader Garnett.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move Senate Joint Resolution 12.
11.
11, sorry about that. I move Senate Joint Resolution 11.
Is there any, the motion before us is the passage of Senate Joint Resolution 11. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say no. Senate Joint Resolution 11 is passed. Minority Leader Neville.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move that this morning's roll call be added as co-sponsors to Senate Joint Resolution 11.
Seeing no objection, this morning's roll call will be added as co-sponsors to Senate Joint Resolution 11. Mr. Randall, please read the title of Senate Joint Resolution 12.
Senate Joint Resolution 12 by Senators Todd and Gardner, also Representatives Weissman and Carver, concerning honoring Colorado veterans on the 75th anniversary of the end of World War II.
Minority Leader Neville.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move for the passage of Senate Joint Resolution 12.
The question before us is the passage of Senate Joint Resolution 12. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say no. Senate Joint Resolution 12 is passed. Majority Leader Garnett.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move that the current roll call be added to Senate Joint Resolution 12.
Seeing no objection, the current roll call will be added as co-sponsors to Senate Joint Resolution 12. Mr. Randall, please read the title of Senate Joint Resolution 13.
Senate Joint Resolution 13 by Senators Bridges and Lundin, also Representatives Holtorf and Michelson-Janay, concerning a recognition of military personnel from Colorado who have served around the world in the ongoing war against terrorism and honoring those who have died while serving the cause of freedom.
Majority Leader Garnett.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move Senate Joint Resolution 13.
The question before us is the passage of Senate Joint Resolution 13. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say no. Senate Joint Resolution 13 is passed. Minority Leader Neville.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move that this morning's roll call be added as co-sponsors to Senate Joint Resolution 13.
Seeing no objection, this morning's roll call will be added as co-sponsors to Senate Joint Resolution 13. And I believe that is all of them. Is that correct? Fantastic. So that brings us to announcements and introductions. Wow. I have one. Representative Woodrow will fill the vacancy on Rural Affairs and Agriculture Committee today only until we get his assignments finalized. Representative Holtorf. I'm sorry. Yes, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Yes.
Got it right. Yeah. On Saturday, was introduced to a gentleman in my district that's a World War II veteran. He's 96 years old. He's still alive. He is not in a nursing home. He fought in D-Day. He fought in the Battle of the Bulge. What I want to ask is anybody in this esteemed body who can identify these people, and I got permission from the Majority Leader, we would like to invite them to come to this esteemed body and do a tribute to them. I think it's very appropriate that we do this. To find a World War II veteran that's still living and still is coherent and still is able to get around is pretty amazing. And the story that this man told me, I couldn't even after 29 years of military service, I didn't deserve to stand by him. It was amazing what he told me. I was in awe. So I asked the majority leader if we could invite him. We're going to do a tribute, and if anyone else has any of these people in their districts in this state, please let's do something special for these veterans because they are members of the greatest generation. If it wasn't for them, many people may be speaking a different language right now, and we wouldn't have this great world that we have with the liberties and the progress that we have seen over the last 75 years. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Members, we are going to read some reports across the desk, but we will go into recess after that, so you all are free to leave. Mr. Randall, please read reports of committees of reference.
Committee on Judiciary. After consideration of the merits, the committee recommends the following Senate Bill 63 be referred to the committee of the whole with favorable recommendation.
Message from the Senate.
Madam Speaker, the Senate has passed on
Message
third
from the
reading.
Senate will be printed in the journal. Message from the reviser.
We herewith transmit.
Message from the reviser will be printed in the journal. Majority Leader Garnett.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move that the House stand in recess until later today.
Seeing no objection, the House will be in recess till later today.